Welcome to today's Bible story. This is the story of Joseph, a young man who went from being rejected by his brothers to becoming the second most powerful man in Egypt. It is a story of faith, perseverance, and forgiveness. Let's begin. Joseph was just 17 years old. He helped his father Jacob tend sheep, and Jacob loved him more than all his other sons. To show his love, Jacob gave Joseph a beautiful robe of many colors. But Joseph's brothers grew jealous. One night, Joseph had a dream. In it, his brothers' bundles of grain bowed down to his bundle. Soon, he had another dream. The sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him. When he told to his family, his brothers hated him even more. They could not imagine that one day those dreams would come true. One day, Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers in the fields. Seeing him coming, they plotted to kill him. But instead, at Reuben's suggestion, they threw him into a dry pit. When a caravan of traders passed by, the brothers sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver. They dipped his robe in goat's blood and showed it into their father. Jacob believed Joseph had been killed by a wild animal, and he wept bitterly. But God was still with Joseph. Joseph was taken to Egypt and sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Even as a slave, Joseph worked faithfully, and God blessed everything he did. Potiphar put him in charge of his entire household. But Potiphar's wife falsely accused Joseph, and though he had done nothing wrong, he was thrown into prison. Even there, Joseph continued to trust God, and God continued to be with him. In prison, Joseph met Pharaoh, cupbearer, and baker, who each had strange dreams. With God's help, Joseph explained their meanings. The cupbearers would be restored to his position, but the baker would be executed. Everything happened just as Joseph said. Joseph asked the cupbearer to remember him when he returned to Pharaoh's service. But the man forgot, and Joseph stayed in prison 2 more years. Then Pharaoh himself had 2 troubling dreams about 7 fat cows eaten by 17 cows, and 7 healthy heads of grain swallowed by 17 ones. None of Pharaoh's wise men could explain them. At last, the cupbearer remembered Joseph. Joseph was brought from the prison and stood before Pharaoh. With God's help, he explained, "There will be 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. Store up food now so Egypt will survive." Pharaoh says that God's Spirit was in Joseph, and he made him second in command over all Egypt. In a single day, Joseph went from prisoner to prince. When the famine came, Joseph's brother traveled to Egypt to buy grain. They bowed before him, not knowing this powerful man was their brother. After testing their hearts, Joseph could no longer hold back his tear. "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt," he said. "But do not be afraid. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Joseph forgave them and invited his whole family to live in Egypt, providing for them during the famine. The dreams God gave him so many years earlier had come true. Joseph's life teaches us that even in pain and betrayal, God is still working. When we stay faithful, He can turn our trials into triumph. In Romans 8:28 it says, "All things work together for good to those who have loved God." May Joseph's story encourage you to trust God's timing and forgive those who hurt you.